I'm Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas. It was a crucial game at Domain Stadium yesterday and it was the Kangaroos who came up short, their fourth loss in a row. Matthew Lloyd.
Yeah, Damien, they did come up short again, and their best four players over the course of the year and their most important players are Wells, Waite, Ziebell and Goldstein. And Ziebell's been the only constant. I think Goldstein's fallen away. Wells and Waite can't get their body right, and North have just dropped dramatically down the ladder.
Goldstein playing with a knee injury. It was better yesterday than he had been, but it's not just the four in a row they've lost, Lordo. It's actually 5 of the past 6, with the win coming in that stretch of matches, and there's also a bye amongst that stretch of matches. The win coming against Richmond in round 11, which doesn't do anything to endorse their credentials.
No, and in brackets is the current position of those sides. So when you're losing the first, second, third, fifth and sixth, it's not great signs. They just are competitive. They're playing well, but they're just not good enough to take a scalp.
Is it acceptable given the injuries they've had, and you've already outlined some of them?
Not really, because I think everyone's getting injuries. I've seen Hawthorn in previous years be decimated, but they still find a way, and North Melbourne, unfortunately, can't find a way. They need everything going right to match the top 4 sides, which they're not getting at the moment.
And the attitude at times yesterday seemed questionable too. They weren't up to the task, and they gave away 5 50 metres throughout the course of the game, 4 of them which directly resulted in goals. This one from Dumont, I mean, that's a clear-cut 50, I would have thought. He's had a brain fade there. Ziebell, arguably unlucky here. I mean, at the same time, he did get him late, and by the technical definition, probably a 50 metre, but at the same time, a bit arguable. Ziebell here just comes into the space, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So they're all there just about, Damo, and then this one, Scotty Thompson in the goal square. When you're within the 50, you just don't do that. And that's something when you're on the road against the West Coast Eagles, hostile crowd, you need everything going right, and North Melbourne shot themselves in the foot there. They come home hard late. They showed a bit of courage there, North Melbourne, but just not good enough.
So do you put a line through them completely now?
Yeah, I've felt that way probably for 2 or 3 weeks. I think at stages this year they played better footy than last year, but they also had a pretty soft run early in the year. So now, against the cream of the crop, as I said, they're just falling short.
There's issues with the crowd regularly at Domain Stadium. Fremantle had issues in recent years. This fan here, after Petrie gets thrown into the fence, I don't know why he feels the need to try and make contact with a player.
Yeah, you're right. I think he looks like he's got the drink in the hand, Damo. Some guys just come and think they can do what they want, drink in the hand. He's lucky he didn't get a hand on him, because he'd be banned for life. So hopefully the West Coast Eagles find out who he is.
That's among the ugly out of the weekend. What did you like out of the round?
The Adelaide Crows, I think they have gone under the radar with Hawthorn and Sydney and Geelong and those sort of sides. But now to win 7 in a row, they travel extremely well, and they've kicked 100 points in every one of those 7 wins. So their scoring's phenomenal. I think they've improved their back line, and their midfield is pretty deep now. They lost Dangerfield, but other guys have bobbed up, and they're probably more even now. So they're a dangerous proposition.
The last loss, round 8 against Geelong, what have they taken out of that? And why now, 7, 8 games on, are they, in your eyes, a premiership chance?
Well, they weren't defending back then. I was there for that game on a Friday night at Adelaide Oval. They weren't defending. Geelong just opened them up through the corridor. The run of Guthrie and Motlop and Dangerfield and all those guys just picked them apart.
So they've learned from that game?
I think they have, and they've improved their defence across the board. The midfielders are working hard to defend. The back line has had a steely resolve about them, and there's no real chinks in the armour, which makes it great for the finals.
One of the US sports commentators, Lordo, Chris Berman, always says it's why we play the games. We can predict games as much as we like, and News Limited tried to last week, shooting down the remaining matches of the season being against teams in the 8 against teams in the bottom parts of the ladder, and they were almost useless games. Well, GWS maybe read it and didn't do what they should have done against Collingwood.
No, that's right. And I thought Sydney, with that young side, to go to Geelong and beat them there, no one would have predicted that. Collingwood probably played their best 3 quarters of the year after quarter time, beat the Giants, who probably got a little bit ahead of themselves. We heard Heath Shaw yesterday say, we just went totally away from what we're looking to do. Richmond nearly beat the Western Bulldogs, so there'll be plenty of upsets, and this top 8 can go in any direction. And if Port Adelaide actually can beat North Melbourne this weekend, I think the top 8 may not even be sealed.
Yeah, that's still open to debate. Brodie Grundy has been a bit of a sleeper, I think, this year, but he's caught up, hasn't he? And he's now in All-Australian calculations for the ruck spot. His final 3 quarters were crucial to what Collingwood did.
Yeah, I criticised Brodie earlier in the year. Brodie is a great competitor, but I didn't feel he was getting his hand on the ball in the ruck, and I thought it was hurting the midfielders in guys like obviously Treloar, side bottom, Pendlebury. But now he's doing that, and Collingwood are a much better side with Grundy playing this way. He kicks some goals. He just is a competitive animal, competitive beast, and he matched Mumford beautifully in beating.
Well, taking on Mumford and beating him, that's no small task.
No, I think if you beat Mumford, the games Mumford's been beaten, I think they lose.
Yeah.
I think Mumford's that important to them. He's the man you've got to go after.
Now, Cloak finally got some form back, and well done to him. Well done to Nathan Buckley for making him earn his spot back in the seniors. But what does it mean for the big picture, Lord? Do you still see him at Collingwood in 2017?
Well, it was great for Collingwood, but I think it's great for Travis Cloak because we've all sat here and thought, will there be another taker for Travis Cloak? But when you play a game like that, I think he's now got 16 clubs, 17 clubs probably thinking to themselves, I saw something in Travis on the weekend that I didn't see.
Yeah.
So he may have options for himself. He may deep down think, I don't really feel I've been treated that well at Collingwood this year. Or he may deep down think, I did have some things to work on. I hear he's been working on his agility, his work at ground level. He probably wasn't working that well, getting back towards goal. He did everything perfectly on the weekend. Hopefully the confidence he's now got in his game, it might just not be good for Collingwood, but it can be good for him in his future as well.
I'm a bit with you, and I think it actually endorses the credentials for him leaving the club more so than actually staying on the back of that performance. The Bulldogs needed something special to happen in the last quarter in their game against Richmond, and there were three men who stood up. Stringer kicked the goals, but these other two, Easton Wood here and also Marcus Bontempelli, who we'll see in a moment, just stood up when they needed to.
Yeah, that one there, Damo, was 7 minutes to go. I thought they were gone if he didn't get back and spoil Jack Riewoldt at that stage. They would have gone 2 goals down. He took about 4 marks, 3 of them were intercept marks. And what I love about those two players, you watch all this vision, they don't fall over. Just the way they keep their feet, both Wood and Stringer and Bontempelli. This one here, just a lot of guys that fall over there. He doesn't. Gets the ball out, and phenomenal play from the two of them. And
they're special talents, aren't
they? They are. And obviously, he was a high recruit, Bontempelli, so you'd hope for that. Stringer was too, but Wood's come out of the clouds under Luke Beveridge the last few years.
OK, someone who hasn't been in that team, and we now know the reasons why, is Tom Boyd. Does he need to come in?
Yeah, I was disappointed with the Dogs. They got out of jail, but I didn't think they played very well. They kicked 6 goals to 3/4 time, and they're the 10th ranked scoring side in the game. So on the way they're scoring, I don't think they can win the premiership the way they're going. I think they need Luke Dalhouse back, who's critical to them. And Boyd, I think, needs to at least... He can't just stand there like Tom Hawkins does, who we'll talk about soon. He's got to move around, be agile, but they need him in that forward 50 as a presence.
So the indefinite suspension, when the vibe was right, Luke Beveridge said last week, he comes back in. Is the vibe right now for him to come back in?
Well, I'm not sure if the vibe's right for what he did in terms of his indiscretion, but the vibe is right for what they desperately need out on that ground.
And does the vibe, just to continue that, mean Redpath doesn't play?
I'm not sure about that because the ruck is an issue. Roughead's not good enough to carry the ruck. Do they bring Will Minson back? So I think they've still got a few issues there at the Dogs. OK, there's problems clearly with North. There's almost as many problems with Geelong. They were bad, weren't they, on Friday night against the Swans? They were bad. Full credit to Sydney, but I just thought their ball movement's really poor. You know, I think Dangerfield and Selwood are travelling really, really well, but the drop-off in Blixarves, the best and fairest winner, has been dramatic. Lost all confidence. Motlop is close to probably being dropped. That's how bad it's got. I don't think they will in the next week, but another one like that, maybe he needs to go back to find some confidence. And Mitch Duncan just hasn't been himself. And then in terms of the forward line, they don't know what their best forward line is. So I think they've got, obviously, Stanley's gone out, Kirsten's gone out. They tried Mitch Clark and Hawkins, which didn't work. They'll give Clark another 3 weeks.
They have to, don't they? Now they've played him.
But still, you're getting close to finals time, and that forward line isn't functioning that well.
OK, large reason for the Swans' win was Kieran Jack's form. Lotto, 3 goals in his 200th game, and had the week from hell in his life, and the way he and his club... I suppose, got around him and allowed him to then play with this freedom and this authority that he did. And you see the post-match scenes as well after it's a reaction by his girlfriend to the first goal he kicked. Look, his family wasn't there for him last week, but his footy family was, Lotto. They're
a wonderful club, the Sydney Swans, and Kieran Jack, it's really sad what's going on with his family. You see his brother Brandon in there with him, who was an emergency on the weekend. Really, really sad story, but a brave win for the Sydney Swans.
You need to have your confidence levels up very high to be able to do what Hawthorn did by way of tapping the ball on. He's had it gone the other way. You're wondering why they do it and whatnot. But that one there by Gunston, this tap on here by Cyril, he does that regularly. But this one by Segler we're about to see in a moment, just to have a recap of that. This one was the one that was very good.
Yeah, they just do the little things well. You know, the simple things. That they look simple, but I just think they're a brilliant club. Obviously, Alistair Clarkson, what he did in the pre-game, they just steeled themselves for that win. And even Joe Danaher missed some bad shots. They're the best set shot kicking side in the game. So they do all the little things well, which just get them over the line week in and week out.
Did Jordan Lewis do this little thing well? And it's hard to raise this, but we do because Port Adelaide made an issue of it after he dropped this mark at this stage of the game, and Port got a goal from it.
We've all probably done it once, and he's got so many credits in the bank, Jordan Lewis.
Yeah.
We see it again. He would love that time again, just probably could have gone back stronger. But Jordan Lewis, so they give it to him there, Kane Mitchell, which was okay. But Jordan Lewis, what about this? The next opportunity he got does this.
Yep.
That's what makes him a champion player. Fantastic from Lewis.
Within minutes of the thing being questionable as it was, but within minutes we just remove any need to talk about it any further.
No, they're a tough side and a skillful side, the Hawks.
Yep. The Lions are having a troublesome season, Lordo, for all the obvious reasons. But this here, Matheson gives away a free kick on Gary Ablett, and immediately Simon Black is dealing with it.
Yeah, so he was holding Ablett there, and he's going to give a free kick every time. So he's pretty much saying, use your bumper bars, your arms. You don't grab, clench your fists, and just keep him in front of there, so don't give him time and space. So brilliant coaching. It's amazing what they can do now at the breaks, these assistant coaches.
Coaching waiting there too, I think, Simon Black, if he wants to go down that path fully. Xavier Campbell, the Essendon Chief Executive Officer, tweeted this last week, and you can see the concern when he's got his 4 big men there about to run with the Bulls.
Oh, yeah, it's not something you want some of your players doing, but I reckon Xavier also might have said, make sure Hibberd and Belchames are at the back, and Hurley and Hooker are at the front. We can't have them being hit by Bulls there. We need them for next year.
A bit like when Alan Jean said, don't shoot the fat one with a police issue a couple of years ago in Hawthorn matters.
With Dunstall?
Dunstall.
Yeah, keep Dunstall nice and safe.
Okay. Hey, Lotto, thanks for your time.
Mate.
Yeah. And thanks for joining us on Access All Areas today. Have a good week. We'll see you again next Monday. Goodbye.